Hello and welcome to Roundtable, number 26 of Dualistic Unity. I am enjoying the opportunity to interact with so much of myself in a situation that a lot of myself is seeing myself in that interaction. There are maybe so many ideas of what I am, what they are, what's going on, what's happening, what should be happening. And we're just enjoying the experience of it happening in whatever the fuck way that is right now.
And I'm just along for the ride as much as I'm participating because that is the ride. I don't necessarily feel like I have to be in control of that ride or that I need to know what necessarily is around the next bend. I don't need to focus on where I've been coming from. I just need to focus on the quality of the place that I'm in right now in terms of my attention and my empathy and my sensitivity. Right. And that's pretty much it. And so I don't know. I'm good with that. I don't know. Let's not know together.
A fucking man. And with all that said, I hope you enjoy this live stream that is Roundtable number 26 of Dualistic Unity.
And here we are for a roundtable episode of Dualistic Unity. I am exceptionally excited about this because it's Roundtable 26 and it's happening right before our Netherlands retreat. Frankly, I'm fucking stoked. I'm also very excited because today we have a very small roundtable. We are joined by Marie, who everybody knows from previous roundtables. Glad that you could make it today, Marie. We're joined by Jackie and Amanda. And aside from that, we have to settle with just Andrew. No, I'm just kidding. It's nice to have everybody here for sure. Andrew recently finished his marathon in New York, and we've had a number of people reach out and say, hey, man, fucking incredible. Well done. We're all very stoked that you did this because we know you've been working on it for a long time. But to answer everybody's question, because I know it's come up and not everybody listens to every episode, how did it go? And more importantly, if you had to summarize one underlying message that you learned from it, what would it be?
Um, I think it helped me to realize that you can make every experience what you want it to be, in a sense. Because I've spent, as you know, you probably, if you've listened to the podcast at all, you probably have an idea of, I've spent, trying to fucking get somewhere. And there was absolutely a point in my life where I would not have enjoyed that nearly as much because I would have had a goal time in the training. I would have been very rigid with it, would have been pushing myself in the sense of like, I would be better if I got, say, sub 4 hours or 3.5, or thinking about what other people were getting. Like, oh, well, I'm faster than that guy. I'm faster than that guy. I'm faster than that person. And there would be all of these comparative ideas. There would be all of these other thoughts about the situation at hand. And like we talked a little bit about it leading up to it. And, my thought process going in was just, I just want to finish and have as much fun as I can. And I felt like I did that. Like there was a point at the end of the race that I had a few miles left and like I was still feeling pretty good and I started running faster and then I actually slowed down because I was like, no, I want to keep soaking this in. Like I don't actually want this to like my perspective of it being a race and a time and a finishing point was a lot different than things like that have always been in my life. Because for me, like competition in sports, like I was always pretty athletic growing up, but it turned into this thing that became something that meant a whole lot about me. And I didn't feel like it was more of a prioritization of the experience itself than anything that it meant about me. And so even hearing things like, such a big accomplishment to finish it, it's like I'm not going to downplay that by any means, but it was as enjoyable of an experience as a lot of other experiences that I've had that aren't, don't make my feet sore as shit and feel like my arches are fucked for a couple days later. Because it's not to say that I don't feel, that was a lot of miles to run, but I my priority through it was the experience in and of itself. And so I think having that sort of relaxed mentality going through it, like everyone said, there would be, you're going to hit walls at certain points. And there was a couple of points that I almost cramped up. And like that got the heart racing a little bit more. But for the most part, it wasn't about a time. It wasn't about anyone else doing it and me relative to them. And so it was like a very fun experience overall. And yeah, just really enjoyed pretty much the whole thing. And so yeah, the main thing I realized was that, the experience comes from me. Everything I go through, no matter what I'm going through. It's like it's rooted in me. It stems from me. There's no one else to look to make it fun. There's no one else to look to put the blame of it not being fun on them. It's like it comes from me. And I think that's something I've been realizing in all facets of my, like, every experience that I go through. But this I definitely felt a lot of that. So yeah, I appreciate all the messages and all everyone in Discord, and I've seen all of those and really appreciate all of it, because it was a blast. And for anyone thinking about it, it's a fun experience to do, for sure. And definitely do some training for it beforehand. But yeah, it was a good time.
That's awesome. And it's funny because as you were saying that, it reminded me of exactly what I went through in my time in the forest. It was very much for that. It was for, what don't I need? Like, how much of this is defined by me for me? And it's not that there weren't certain points where you're like, oh, God, this is tough. I'm cold. I'm hungry. And I'm wet. I really just want to sleep somewhere warm. It's same thing as getting a cramp. But in those moments, you're like, I can continue on. I can do this, because the result of not, and you'd be surprised how much you can take. So that's fantastic. That's really cool, man. I'm really glad that you had that experience. But this is something that's important, and we've said it before, but I'm going to reiterate it because I can. Um, there's no way to shortcut the growth of your self-awareness. There's no way to get some concept that suddenly leapfrogs you to some elevated point of enlightenment, but you can make shit hard on yourself. That will teach you. You can put yourself in challenges. You can put yourself in the middle of the unfamiliar. You can toss yourself into something with no sense of certainty whatsoever. And in those moments of dancing, you will discover that you can dance. You will discover what dancing is to you. And you're going to discover that not everybody appreciates your dancing, while other people are inspired by it. Right. But it really is just that. It's jumping in. That's the only way you can learn. You can't sit there preparing to jump in, because all you're really doing is preparing to wait. And you're doing it really well. That's the worst part about it, is you're just not going anywhere. And so all that preparation is basically so you can justify not going. Right. So there's a balance. You can prepare, sure, but after a certain point, you have to recognize there's no real preparation. Like, you can't know what's coming. So you can guess, but you can also get too carried away. Just leap.
All right. What up?
Leaping in right now.
Yeah.
Uh, Wanted to see you, Andrew. Funny enough, I was trying to go to the marathon, but it was like, I don't even know where he is. There's 50,000 people running, and then there's like triple that, so much more. I'm not good with math today, but um, I like got off the train to. I was like in Manhattan, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna like go to Central Park, just gonna see what happens. I mean, like, let's see what I see, because there's going to be so much energy in the air. And I loved like your mention of that, Andrew, because I have to imagine running through that energy of just so many people there, and the experience of just, I always enjoy, not always, but there are moments where I like to step back, and when you're in a crowd, and recognize like um that sameness, that like like we're just together in this. And like I don't know, it's just like I feel that at concerts, or I feel that at like whoa, we're just like here together because that's all we ever are. But like it's so much more intentional when we're like participating in the same activity. That's all we're doing. I love when like animals like get together and we're like, ooh, look at them flying together. Meanwhile, look at us. Like you all were running together the same path and kind of going on their path. And even when we look at cities or just people, right, we always see the pathways and the ways that we travel. I've been talking a lot about the similarities of us with animals and the rest of nature with my students because they're like blown away. I've been talking about trees and how they communicate through their roots, and like they're like, what are you even saying right now? And I'm like, right? I'm like um I'm like, they're sending messages to each other, they're communicating in the same way we communicate, because they're like, well then if you're saying that like we're just making straight up, like a student saying, like if we're just making sounds at each other, like what's the difference then between us and animals or now trees? And I'm like, you're right. What is the difference? And then I just keep asking questions to them, and like, because it's the best way to teach. Like, we're just like talking. Let's talk. What do you think? You know, like, what are your thoughts? What's coming up for you right now? Because we all can tap into that if we like sit back and pay attention. That's all we're trying to do. It's like let's be curious together. Let's pay attention together. Let's be free together. And like I know obviously that's what DU is all about, which is why I'm here. But like, it's just, let's come together. Let's pay attention together. That's why, something like a marathon or whatever, it's just like, hey, we're all here right now. We're all here right now. We could choose to do this at any moment, but like feel how powerful it is when we're all here right now. Look what happens when we're all here right now. People who thought they couldn't do this shit are fucking doing it. They're doing it right now. And like, and it's a lot of that power and strength comes from us all being there together. And like a lot of times, could you imagine? I'm curious. I think, Andrew, you said that this was the longest time you had run. Like, even in your training, you hadn't gone to the full. I don't know if that's even what you're supposed to do in the training. Unaware of all that. But, like, it's just cool because who knows? And I'm sure you would be able to now. But, like, being able to do that by yourself versus, that situation of, being empowered by, look at all of us. Look at us go, y'all. I'm gonna pause there.
Well said. Yeah. And I think there was definitely for me that uncertainty of like, yeah, because I hadn't done it. Like the longest training run you do is like 20, 22 miles. So like I'm not gonna lie, I had some nerves going into it, but like I couldn't pinpoint it on what it was. And then so I was like, is it really nerves? It's kind of just buildup of energy. It's like, well, I need energy to run. So maybe it's just kind of in preparation for the thing I'm about to do. And I can come up with the idea that it's fucking nerves or something. But it's like, no, for anything that we're doing, there's a buildup of energy in order to be expressed and or utilized or done something with. And so, when we have that buildup of energy and then we avoid certain things, and it's like it's just kind of left in potential, but there's an opportunity to utilize it. But so often we'll be like, oh, well, I am nervous and therefore I don't want to do it. But yeah, there was definitely that. And I realized it was, because I don't know what this is going to be like. Like I have no fucking idea the whole time. Like I had a general idea of the map and the path of everything and whatnot, but I really did my best to just be in it and like kind of relaxed. And when the cramps came up, because that same leg kept like getting really close, it was almost like fucking. I'm not gonna. No, never mind. I'm like losing my train of thought. But just and I could imagine previously there would be like a lot of concern, and then there would be the thought of like, oh my gosh, is this gonna fully cramp up? Am I not gonna finish? Am I gonna drop out at fucking mile 4 the first time I felt it? And I was like, oh, I don't know any of that. I don't even know if this is gonna last longer than 2 minutes. And so there was a relaxation that I felt through that. But as much fun as I had, there was definitely the back and forth and the doubts came up, and it's like, yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm just gonna keep keep doing it and find out and see what happens. And that can be, I'm talking about it in this context, but that's kind of anything that we go through, like any conversation we're having, any situation that we're in, any experience we're going through, any from the micro to the macro of how I'm feeling right now versus this whole situation I feel like I'm in. It's like, I don't know either. I don't have any certainty with either. So what can I do with that? Well, I can keep paying attention. I can relax a little bit more because I don't know. So in order to have a lot of tension, it's like I got to kind of have an idea of what to be tense about. But without that, it makes it a little bit harder for sure. Jackie or Marie?
Nope, I want Jackie.
Jackie.
What up? What up? Yeah. I don't really know what I raised my hand to say, but just jumping in always, because do I ever really know what I'm going to say? I don't think so. Things happen how they happen. But yeah, Andrew, that seems like such a great learning process. And I think running specifically is something that can be such a meditation in the sense that it's so uncomfortable. It's genuinely not comfortable to run. And at least for me personally, and Andrew, you said you weren't a runner when you started. So I imagine it was really fucking tough to force yourself to do things, to just get out there and do it rather than like giving into your thoughts about, oh, I don't feel like doing this. Like I might injure myself again. I don't know, worrying about how fast you're going and shit like that. Cause thinking about stuff like that that's where all the weight comes from. And that just comes from like trying to control and do something the right way, but there is no right way. And we're like looking at everybody else as like an authority figure, like they might know the right way. Like other people have the answers for us about how we should do certain things. And like how seriously we should take things. But I think there are moments where you can, like Marie said, like step back and just recognize the common humanity. And that's why it's so fucking cool to go to something like a marathon, because everybody there is like just saying like a big fuck you to like their thoughts and their doubts and just pushing themselves beyond their comfort zone. And there is a gravity to that, to people just willing to challenge themselves or to free their mind enough to like go into that scary room of reality that they haven't let themselves in up until a certain point. Like, oh my gosh. Like when I think about running a marathon, that seems like too big to even imagine doing. But like we can do anything as long as we don't make it a narrative. It's like the whole, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You just have to do the step that's in front of you, and that's how shit unfolds. It's not about thinking about how something should go or how you should be or how you should feel and then trying to cram your experience into that and like just experiencing all the suffering and discomfort that comes with that, on top of just the discomfort of having to go through whatever it is you're going through in the moment. So like we make shit twice as difficult for ourselves. And yeah, it's like, Andrew, like you made it look easy because you weren't making it more hard on yourself, I feel like.
Well said. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And it's interesting too with the discomforts because I was in a DM or a comment, we're going back and forth about discomfort a little bit, and they were like, maybe it was in regards to weed, and I was talking about how weed still makes me uncomfortable, and they're like, oh, are you addicted to weed? Are you addicted to gummies? And I'm like, dude, I could stop smoking whenever. I just know that it's like the discomfort is good. Like it's so fucking, there's a lot to that. And I want to make a video about that and just my experience with weed, because people can come up with this idea of like, oh, you must be, you do it a bunch, you must be addicted. It's like, you breathe a bunch, are you addicted to air? I mean, sort of. You eat a bunch, are you addicted to food? It's like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. You do things that make you uncomfortable. Is that to say that's an addiction? It's like, oh, you're working out, but like, why are you working out? That's a discomfort. Is it a discomfort, or is it now become a comfort? For me, working out was more comfortable than not working out. It was actually harder for me to take a week off than to not, because there was like, oh, what am I going to lose in myself? So you got to just continue to be honest with yourself. And they were like, well, I prefer the discomfort of whatever it was, lifting weights, over the discomfort of weed. I'm like, no, you're just saying that lifting weights is more comfortable for you and weed is less comfortable for you. It's not that they're both equal discomforts. It's like, to you, one is more comfortable than another. And so a lot of people, maybe with running becomes a sort of comfort for them, a way of avoiding certain things. And there's no right or wrong ever, but everything has the potential to be weed too. That can be something that's used as a escape. It's like how honest with yourself you're being, how responsible for yourself you're being. So it's funny how we come up with like, oh, well, these are comforts, these are discomforts, but they're all going to be on a spectrum based on the person, based on their experiences, based on what they're going through, based on how long they've been doing something, based on how they define themselves. And so there isn't even like, oh, these are discomforts, these are comforts. Like there are variations of that. And sometimes one person, a discomfort could be a comfort for another, and a comfort could be a discomfort for another. So you can't look to anyone else to be like, oh yeah, that's a discomfort, I'm going to do that to make myself uncomfortable because that's an easier discomfort for me to face. It's like, no, it's not a discomfort. It's just for you, that's comfort. For the other person, it's a discomfort. And so you just, at the end of the day, have to be honest with yourself about it and what you're going through. And there's not a right or wrong. It's not to say like constantly be in discomfort, but it's like, how much do you want to learn? How much of this experience do you want to dig into? Because the more you dig into, the more discomfort there's going to be. That kind of indicates the fullness of your experience, in a sense. Not that it indicates, but it, I don't know, has the potential to make things more full, because you got to try new things. There's a discomfort that comes with that. And the more willing you are to step through it, the more experiences you have. And it still just comes down to you and your experience. But that changes depending on how you're seeing yourself too. Amanda, over to you.
And on today's news, no, but
Amanda, with the weather,
right? Internally, there is a raging storm, but the clouds have parted. Somehow the sun is shining. We don't know what's going on, and yet we never have. And I love the analogy of like thinking about like an internal weather. And I had seen that example, and someone in a book, one of the personal development books I was reading when I was in that phase of like trying to become the smartest, strongest, fastest model we could make Amanda to be, trying to personal development into like superiority, because that's the noble thing at that time that I was thinking. I was like, that's a noble thing to do, is to work on yourself, to be the best person you can be. I was on that. But I was just thinking about like when you're talking, when everybody was talking just about like comfort and how things that are more comfortable aren't better for us. They make us feel better. But the thing that's the word that comes to mind when I think of comfort is familiarity, like something that is familiar. And so when I think of being uncomfortable, usually it's around something I'm not familiar with. When I say that something is hard, it's not that it's hard, it's that it's usually unfamiliar. So nothing, or it's very, in my mind at the moment, it's very hard for me to say that something is hard. It's just that it's unfamiliar. I just don't know. And so I think that if I know something, it makes it easy. And that's not true, because, practicing a surgery, it's not easy, but it's familiar. You can get familiar with the technique, with the steps, but that's always what I would consider a hard task, and just hard because the risk is high. But when I used to think about what if something was hard, it was always because it was unfamiliar, and I didn't realize how much I prioritized or how much I valued something being familiar. And when we think about that question you're asking, like, you know, you're constantly in shitty relationships. Are you addicted to getting cheated on? Like you want to ask somebody a question about a habit that they're doing. It's like, it's like, no, I don't think that you're addicted. I think that you don't notice that you're willing to exchange romantic neglect or abuse to solve the problem of loneliness. I don't think that you're realizing what your exchange is, that you would rather be with someone who actively hurts you than being by yourself, because you imagine that people who are by themselves, there's something wrong with them. So I think it's so interesting how a lot of our stories are tied to what we imagine is okay and what we imagine is not okay. And when you feel that discomfort, it's when it's in one way of saying it, because there's many ways, but in one way of saying the way that you experience discomfort is when you're not pretending that you have control anymore, or when you're not pretending that you know what's best for you. And when you don't, because even when I'm making a choice that I'm confident in, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I am starting a new job. And in this example, we're starting a new job. And out of all the options I had, I picked this one because I thought this was the best option. Is it? I don't know. Is it really the best option for me? I don't know. But we picked it and we're here. And once if we pay attention, we can be sensitive to the response that we have to that new environment, and the response that environment has to us. And so, and then when you're paying attention, you can realize, okay, I started this job and we are not even going to make it our first 30 days. And I have done that. I have started a job and quit within like 2 weeks because I'm like, nope, this is not working. I can already tell. I can already see that there is the assimilation is not happening. I am not assimilating into this new environment. This environment is not embracing me. And instead of thinking, what's wrong with me? Why was I so stupid to pick this job? Why did they hire me? It's just, okay, we made this choice based on what we knew or what we thought we knew. We based it on assumptions. Those assumptions are proving to be inaccurate. And so we are pivoting. And we are sensitive to the fact that the choice we made was based on a guess, and that guess just turned out to be wrong because it's a 50-50 shot. So instead of being upset with myself for even going in this job, and it's like, okay, no, we're okay. All right. I guessed wrong. And that's okay. That's totally okay, because you're never going to make a choice that is 100% certain. You will never make a choice and know everything, and you will never consider all of the contributing factors. So you're always going to be guessing, but that's okay, because when you guess while you're paying attention, it's easier to let go of the guess. But if you pretend that guess is a plan and that plan has to be fulfilled, then you won't let it go as easily as you would. And it's only because your imagination became a story that you didn't want to let go of. And what's so funny is that you don't have to hold on to it, because if I made this Frankenstein, I can also unmake it. There's nothing that I can create that I can't change again. And so I asked myself, while everybody was talking earlier, I was like, do I ever not experience my imagination? Is every experience that I have just an expression of my imagination, good or bad, on the spectrum? I don't care where we stop. Is everywhere I'm stopping just a point in the story that I imagine we stop at? And if that's the case, then we can just imagine a new stop.
And what do you mean by imagine? This is one of the problems I have with the word imagine. It's such an unexplained part of our subjective experience, but it is the foundation of everything that we do. Every invention that's ever made, it comes from our imagination. Everything that we've ever changed about our reality in terms of our relationship with nature comes from us imagining how to do so. Every language, every bit of art, everything has, it's all, even right now we're speaking quote unquote English, but it's really just sounds that we imagine mean something, and we all agree that they do, right? And it's just us just playing the same game. We're all playing the same game. look at me making these noises, and we're like, I know those noises, and that's really all, that's all it is, right? But it's an exercise not in imagination but in awareness, right? It's just another part of our awareness, but because it's not productive, because it's not a controllable part of our awareness, it's not something that fits into the grand scheme of progress, right? Like, you're just sitting there daydreaming, you're wasting time. Can you imagine the idea of experiencing yourself being a waste of time? What do we think we're here for? Exactly what is time for, if not for me to experience time in whatever fucking way I want, right? But that's really it. It's just an expression of what we are. And so even your experience right now is not even just imagining the future or imagining a future event, or even your perception of a past event, because that's also imagination, but it's also your perception of right here and now. You could look at that as also imagination. You imagine people are judging you. You imagine that you're only a human. You imagine that you're separate from the world. All of these things, we call them perceptions, but they're just an exercise in our awareness. They are optional things to hold on to as truth. And what's funny about it is just that for the most part, it really just comes down to consensus, or at least that's how we look at it. Because there's a billion or so people that imagine Jesus was the one and only Son of God, therefore he must be. And that's often their argument. Well, look at all these people, they all agree with me. It's, yeah, but how many people imagine that there's a Santa Claus? That doesn't necessarily make it true, right? But it is all imagination, and that's unfortunately the danger. That is the danger, as much as it is the prize and the gift of all of this, because you can do anything with it, but you can also totally get lost in it.
Yeah, and it's this fucking it's funny how it's like a scale. Like, oh well, it's all children, typically under the age of 10, sometimes under the age of 15, who believe in Santa Claus, and it's not that many, but Jesus, God, all that stuff, Sky Daddy, all that stuff, bigger number, more grown-ups, more people who I see as similar to myself. So there's like a buying in. It's like, where's the tipping point? And if it's all you also, then how much does your willingness to just be yourself and let go of all of the thoughts about what everyone else is doing? Like, if someone who was Catholic, Christian, stopped looking around at what the fuck everyone else is doing and started thinking for themselves, like, it may not hold up so easily anymore without the support of the ability to justify this perspective just based on a bunch of other people. Because I've heard that argument a number of times. Like, well, a billion people believe are Catholic, you're saying they're all wrong. I think Bray said it before, like, they're certainly all afraid, and there's justifiable reasons to be afraid, for sure. It doesn't mean that it's correct. Like, it's funny, like, when someone starts using arguments like that, they're just grabbing for straws, grabbing for anything, because there's no actual thing behind it. It's not like, not to say there's like, oh, you need data and shit, but it's just like, oh, everyone else is doing. It's like, Jesus Christ, that is like the ultimate passing of responsibility, of taking responsibility for your experience and the way you're seeing things, and your willingness to just do it yourself, like sit in it yourself, think about it for yourself, like, I wonder what is going on right now. And then as you do that, you realize, oh shit, I'm the one maintaining a lot of these ideas. I'm the one maintaining a lot of these perceptions. Not a lot, all of them. Fucking all of them. It's all your point, Amanda, all my fucking imagination. This whole thing is that. But then it's like, whose imagination? What does that mean by imagination as opposed to reality? And how much am I seeing in my quote unquote imagination, in my head, or the way I perceive it? Like, how much of that is just seeing variations of here and now, like different variations of that? And then there's the pull to that, but it's like, yeah, but this is it right now. You can look at potential variations of this if you want. It doesn't guarantee it, but it's not the experience that you're having right now, but it is the experience that you're having right now. You're focusing on just something that you don't have influence over. It's like, this is what you have influence over when you're not paying attention. It's almost like an avoidance of the potential influence via looking at some other potential variation of what could be in my imagination. So anyway.
And it's funny because the farther you're imagining from here now, the more potential you're losing. Right? Like you can imagine a couple seconds into the future, it's like, oh, a dog's gonna come around the corner, and that's perfectly helpful, right? Like you can stretch it to some degree, right? But the farther you start imagining, the dimmer it gets, like the less likely it becomes, right? And it's just because there are limits as to our intuition to some degree, and that's assuming that you even know how to tap into your intuition, because most of the time, most of us are just running from fear and chasing desire, and that really cuts off any intuition that we might have operating under the surface. Marie.
I like that you brought up intuition at the end there. So it's something that I've been thinking about as well. Just like understanding when you're reacting or making choices. Is this coming from a place of intention, or what the fuck word did we just use?
Intuition.
Thank you. Intuition, versus just like fear, or like that, familiar reaction that we have, that habitual reaction that we'll have, which is usually because of our fears, right? We'll build walls and cycles for ourselves to repeat because it's familiar, it's comfortable. And that's why I really like talking about the discomfort and what you said, Amanda, and it's really just unfamiliar for us. That's like anything. And that's what's so fun about the idea of leaping in or jumping in. And, we have a lot of that when we're kids, like, let's do this, let's jump, what can we do? What can we do? And then you fall and you hurt yourself. And then you go, oh no, if I do that thing, I can hurt myself. And then you like create a little fear behind it now. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to do it in the same way that I have been doing it, with that freedom of like, woohoo, no consequences. Or I don't know even what that means. And then, something like that pops up, and it's, a practice of not allowing those moments of falling down and identifying with those moments. Like, oh no, I fell and now this means something about me. Now I'm the worst. Or, now I'm just whatever it may mean. It doesn't mean anything. It's just an experience that happened. And if you choose, you could look at it as just being an opportunity for you to see it differently, to not attach to it and just be like, oh, I fell because maybe, I didn't grab on right. Let me try that again. Let me, I'm gonna jump again and try to, whatever the scenario I just made up in my head about kids jumping. I guess I'm thinking climbing trees. I'm not sure. But then with imagination too, it's always been one of my favorite things. Like as a kid, I have a best friend that I'm still best friend. That's a silly label, but I have somebody I've been close with my whole life. We grew up together, and we always would play these wild imagination games. And I love talking to other people about now, like, what were you all playing growing up? Because like it was such a big part of like my childhood, to play these weird imagination games where we could be able to like jump in, like we're gonna be in a world where like everything's a video game. We'll like jump in, and once we're in this world, now we're in this video game and we have these characters, which is crazy because like now virtual reality is becoming a thing as I'm saying this. And that, like any other invention, is just us being like, hey, what if we tried to do this thing? And like the fact that we're even able to have this call right now and like have this conversation was based off of somebody being like, hey, let's see if we could try to, communicate in this new way and build like the invention of things just makes no sense to me sometimes, because when I think more about how dreamlike this experience is, it really just feels like a video game where like we're just ping ping ping. That's the sound of tools being made or whatever, and like we're building these tools and we're using them, and where are they coming from? I don't know. We're thinking about it, and then it's becoming a thing, which is crazy. That's like all this is us thinking about things, and then they're happening, and then that's our, and whatever we're experiencing, is this stuff is showing up for us, I guess. And so it's just like a funny thing. There's so many notes that I have. I don't know how long I can vent for, but I'm gonna keep going. So
Keep going.
yes. I loved your comment, Ray, of like daydreaming and how that's looked bad at, because it's like, who are you to tell me how to spend my time? Like, like what are we doing here? We made up this idea that we should be spending our time, whatever that means, working or, grinding for some odd reason, when, we could just be here and living and doing our thing like everybody else seems to be doing, other than humans. We're making up this thing that feels pretty crazy, but it's like, who are you to tell me? And then no, I feel like these are so many different thoughts. I feel like I don't know if I could go through all of them, but when you were like, cool, when Andrew, when you brought up the weed thing and like people asking you about, like, I even saw something that was like about your tolerance, a tolerance break, like how often you do that. And you're like, dude, like I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, it's just, that's not how I use it, or that's not how I see it. I'm not seeing it as like anything different than, like, people have coffee every day and know it, like, and like that in itself, like people, like I've watched my dad when he doesn't have caffeine for a couple, like a day, he like feels nauseous, he has a headache, he's like irritable. And not to say that, this is coming straight from that, but there are effects that happen. And I just think it's interesting when, there's that stigma or that conditioning that people are still tied to with weed, and like that being something that you can't use regularly and live I don't know, some kind of life. I don't know what word I'm thinking of, but like just live your life in like a productive. I was gonna say productive, but like I don't know if that's where I'm trying to get at. But like as somebody who has been regularly doing that and living my life, and I feel like because I don't look at it in the same way, that, releasing that stigma or that conditioning of this meaning anything about me, it's like uh, a lot of things. So like I think the thing before this, where you all were talking in the live, I don't know what it's called, but it was really cool, and I liked at the end when veganism came up. I love using the word veganism. It sounds like like a religion of some sort, because it is to an extent, because I also was vegan for a while, but I can't even say that, and I never really said that because I was not strict about it. I was just like, trying it out, like, I was noticing when I was eating certain foods I wasn't feeling well, so I was like, oh, let me try doing this. And it was just like an exploration for me. And when it became too much about like what you were saying, Jackie, of like people like really getting defensive or identifying with it so hard that it was becoming much more than it needed to be. Because if you look at this whole experience, um, today we were talking with my students about the Native Americans and like how they would utilize nature around them, and a lot of that came from like hunting animals. And like the kids were like, what, they would kill animals? I'm like, dude, you eat chicken. You have like your hamburgers, all that stuff that you're eating, that's animals. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's just like a part of what happens. They don't have stores though, like they don't go to stores. They had to like get the animals themselves, and they were just like blown away that was, it wasn't a connection for them. And then, but my point being that like it's just like a natural way of being here. Like There's no right or wrong. Yo, my body's like, you gotta stop talking because I'm about to start choking. I gotta pass it. Hold on.
Jackie, would you like to continue on?
Yeah. Yeah, you choking right now reminded me today I went to yoga and we were like sitting in meditation and I choked on my own spit and I started coughing up a lung. Oh my God. And there was the thought to be embarrassed in that moment, but it's always a choice whether we want to pick up that weight or not. What I've just been chewing on recently is just how fucking absurd it is that we think we know what's best. Like we think we can have any sort of control over the outcome when we can't even explain literally our immediate experience at all. Like it's a mystery what we even are. There's no way of really knowing that just besides just being it. And so I think when you spend more time focusing on just being what you are in every moment, Amanda's still dying. It's hard for me to talk when she's laughing because it's so fucking contagious. And Amanda, get it together. This is serious, don't you know? We're talking about the universe. But yeah, it's like there's such a temptation to try and understand or conceptualize or know what the fuck to do, and there's just no way to know. There's just no way to know, and that's just what we're stuck with forever. But I think the more that you surrender to that, what emerges is sort of just a natural sense of expression of whatever the situation calls for. And that's including your own experience as part of the situation. Like you can be like, okay, Jackie is feeling this way. The environment is feeling this way, which in reality it's no separation, but you're from this point of view, you're viewing yourself like from behind. And you can like see all your thoughts and your narratives, and you can make a decision that isn't just influenced based on your programming. But I think it can be uncomfortable to sit in that point of authority over your own experience because we don't trust ourselves. We're never taught to trust ourselves because we were taught to defer to certain authorities. And we just make the assumption that other people know better. And everybody's consciousness is at the same like level of accuracy. Of course, there's different amounts of context that you can receive, but there's also no end to that context. And no matter what, nobody can ever predict the future. So what you're basing your judgments on are the past, which inherently aren't going to be the future. The future is ever changing, and no one day in this universe has ever been the same. And like things are just changing and shifting constantly. So all that you can rely on for like a sense of what to do next is just your sensitivity, like your discernment. And like you don't really have to worry about whether you're making the right choice because there's not a right choice. And like it's funny, Ray, you brought up like wasting time. Like we make the assumption that like when we're doing something, like we're trading our time for money or something. And like if we're not in action in every moment, it's like we're losing something, we're losing time, but none of that, even when we're being productive, we assume that that means something about us. And it just doesn't ever. Like this is just a self-refining process. I guess it's an ever unfolding dynamic dance for balance. And even when you think you're on one end of the spectrum, you can't say with certainty where that is. But I do think like any skill, you can gain a little bit more of a ability to discern efficiently, or I don't know, like get basically just understand what that feeling feels like. Because I was telling Amanda earlier, sometimes it can be hard for me to tell what my intuition is versus my fear or my, I don't know. And Ray has said before, like, intuition doesn't use words. That can be sometimes hard for me to see. And I don't know, I guess it's just never what I think it is, right? Like, I can't say what intuition is. Wouldn't it just be what I end up doing?
Exactly. That's it. You know, it's so funny. We get caught up in what to do next, but there is no what to do next. Like there's a right answer to that. There is just what you do next. That's all there is. You know, but we get caught up in it going, but the right thing, there's got to be a right way. No, it's you. You're always doing existence. There's no right way to do existence. It really just comes down to your relationship with it. You know, but we keep asking the question like there's a right answer. And the answer is just to focus on what you're doing. Right? It will change, it will grow, you will make decisions, you will adapt, you will do all that stuff. You don't really have to worry about it. You are will. Right? That's it. Just continue forward.
Yeah, I like that a lot. There's nothing next. So there's no right decision to make next. It's just what you're doing, but there's no satisfaction in that, because then I can't feel like, oh, I picked the right thing to do and then I did it and I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right side of the discussion. I'm on the right side of history. I'm on the and how badly we just want that. Like, I want to be correct. I want to be able to feel better about myself because I'm doing the correct thing, the right thing, the living the right way. It's like, right way according to who? Just according to you looking around and making assumptions about the right way based on typically the majority, as opposed to being willing to not even look at the minority, but just look to yourself. Like, just look at yourself. And that's the ultimate, minority, is you doing it and making a decision for everything. And it's wild how the thought of making every decision, everything you do, just following that intuition, it's like you're not looking at anything else so much. And it's not to say that's better than looking around. It's like, it's just sensitivity, and sometimes sensitivity involves looking around. Like, it's not closing your eyes in the sense that you don't take in all of the factors and all of the considerations, but it's the balance between pushing the decision off to that versus just taking in the considerations based on your sensitivity. So it's like all of them kind of go hand in hand, and they don't get you to a point. It's not like, oh, I'm taking ultimate responsibility. I'm being ultimately sensitive. I'm being ultimately aware. I'm at peak for all of them, and therefore the correct decision is going to be expressed through me. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's always varying, and me saying it, that's not how it works like that. It's not that either, but it's just the continuation of that, right? Like, it's not even, as I'm saying, it's like there's not a right way to do it necessarily. So it's like tough to, I don't know, sometimes it gets tough to even fucking talk about, because like, yeah, I'm doing it. There's not another way to do it. Like, I'm just going through it. And I mean, it shifts based on your perspective of yourself, and the experience shifts, and the going through it, the sensitivity, there's like, oh, a sensitivity to myself and my own feelings versus a sensitivity to what's going on, like what's happening right now, right here and right now. And there's not so much weight when that's the priority, because all of you is here now. But as soon as it's like, oh, I'm something separate, it's like, yeah, that's when that starts to be like we were talking earlier about the weight of how far past or future you're looking, and the amount of, although yes, there's infinite perspectives right now, it's like the more spanned out you get, the more that builds. And then it's like, you know, by tomorrow, like there are so many fucking variations that's gonna determine what happens in between there that you couldn't possibly even fathom, as much as you think that you could know how it's going to go. Like, you don't know what you're going to be going through, you don't know what you're going to be feeling, and that goes for 5 minutes from now. And it's like part of it is an equal amount of potential weight, and it's just like they're as much as there's not a line anywhere, it's like you kind of are or you aren't. We're either attentive to where you're at, what's actually going on, without so many thoughts and considerations about what it means about something, or you're not. Whether that's looking down the road a bit or down the road a lot, it's kind of one way, either or, in a sense, from a certain perspective. But then it's like, how caught and how much are you, and like how much is being taken away from that? And that's not, it's not a right or wrong either. So anyway, I feel like at this point I'm just kind of like going back and forth with myself. It's funny too how we can like
welcome
say
to
things.
existence.
Yeah, right. Oh, and I'm like, oh shit, I feel like I'm just doing, and it's like fucking exactly, like we're always just doing that. So for me to think like, oh, this is, I'm doing this now, it's like, yeah, as opposed to fucking what? As opposed to all the times you were super clear with everything you were saying, it's like, I could have been a lot less clear. You just were more comfortable with those words.
Exactly. It really comes just down to, again, I say it all the time, but our relationship with eternity. And it doesn't matter that you, well, I'm going to die one day. That's true. And you can focus on that as much as you like to. And you're going to fucking get beat down by the terror of it all and the fear that you got to get somewhere and leave a legacy and be remembered and do all that shit. Or you can just accept that you're here now, you know, and just be here now. And that's it. This is it. This is your whole life now. And if you can really take that in, then it's, again, not about what you're doing, but how you're doing it. From what mentality? How much are you making it hard on yourself for no good fucking reason? How much are you making it about how valuable you are? How much are you making it about how right you are? How much are you making it about how you look or how you're perceived by others or how you assume you're perceived by others? How much are you making it about trying to prove yourself to something? You know, like all of that shit is optional. It's all optional, you know, and it all exists in the timeline of your character, of the fictitious you. Because that's the only thing you can do, is judge yourself according to where you're not yet or where you think you've been, according to other assumptions about quote unquote other people. But it all exists in time, as we've been saying. It all exists in time. Here in the moment, there's just you here in the moment. You know, there's no way to do that right. Amanda.
I was just thinking about how I yearn for a right next step because I've judged every previous step. And because I've judged every previous step so harshly, I'm hoping and begging and wishing for the right next step. Not because there is one, because there isn't. Only, in my opinion, I only think that there's a right next step because every step has been judged. And it doesn't matter if I've judged every previous step as what I would consider good or bad, it still was judged. And it either passed my judgment or it failed my judgment test. But every single step that I have ever taken has been judged, including the one that I'm on, as I'm on it. And so, of course, with all these judgment, then, you know, there must be a right next step. You know, how much am I trying to control everything? You know, how scared am I? You know, because if I'm thinking about like my value, if I'm thinking about how do I raise it, I'm thinking about, you know, how am I perceived? I'm only concerned with all of those examples and some, because I'm trying to control what I think can be controlled because I'm scared that I'm not in control. But I never have been in control. And when I was younger, when I was a little kid, and I knew on like a logical level that I wasn't in control because the parents were in control. And so like there was a feeling of not being in control and that being okay. And yet somehow could not recreate that as an adult, could not re-experience the fact that like not having control is not a problem until, the first retreat where that hit me. And I'm glad that it did. And when you were talking about like intuition and imagination, intuition happens now. The imagination happens in time. Imagination happens later. I imagine shit happening later, but the intuition is all what's going on right now, and it's very much individual focused. Like if I'm listening to my intuition, it's usually I am sensitive to what's happening in that moment relative to the character that I'm playing. And when I'm listening to my intuition, it's very much individual focused. And when I'm thinking about imagination, I'm thinking about how this individual relates to all the other characters. I imagine being with other people. I imagine groups doing things. I imagine countries and worlds and people doing things. I imagine myself doing things with other people. Rarely do I need to imagine like what's happening right now, because it's just happening. So it feels like the intuition is all about now, and the imagination is in time. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be anything else. It's just that when you were talking, Maria, about like, like it like amazes and astonishes you like where inventions come from. And I feel that same way. And I thought of the quote, necessity is the mother of invention. And my brain rejected that. It was like, no, it's not necessity, it's sensitivity. Sensitivity is the mother of all invention, and focus is the father, or attention is the father. That seems way more accurate to say than necessity. It wasn't necessity, it was a sensitivity to the environment that was the mother of that invention. And it was the attention that you put that fathered it into existence. So that's my spin on that old saying that I have loved and still appreciate to this moment.
Huh? Did you pass it to me?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda, that's really interesting about intuition not being like only being in the present moment, because I've tried to like think about situations that I know are like coming up in the future, and I'm like, okay, well, I have all these potential options or thoughts about what I could do and how that will go. Now, which one is my intuition? Which one is thought? They're all imagination. They're all thoughts. Like, what even is? Yeah, intuition is just how you respond in the moment based on your sensitivity. And that is the least distorted and probably most appropriate response to whatever it is you're going through. But also, like, I feel like that is always the case, even when we do something that we deem as like the wrong decision or not the most aligned or the most like sensitive decision that we could have made in any moment. Like, how are we making that judgment? Because yeah, it's like we're always just part of whatever this is unfolding. And part of me is like any like thought or attempt to understand that is just kind of missing the mark. It's just about your relationship to the moment and whether or not you can face it and be there in all that uncomfortability, in all that uncertainty, or whether or not you want to run away into your imagination and close your eyes to what's going on and stumbling through the situation. And like both are options, both are on the table. Like, I really can't say like being perfectly in line. Holy shit, Andrew, how the fuck are you doing that? I'm sorry. I was in the middle of a thought and that really just took me out.
Gotcha.
It's like literally any choice just is what it is. It's about how you want to experience it. And for me, like, I want to be in my life. And I used to be such a nostalgic person, or I thought I was, because I would like look back on periods of my life and romanticize it and be like, oh my God, I had it so good back then and I didn't even realize it. And I think it was just because when I was there, I was escaping through thought into the past or future because I was uncomfortable with my present. And that's the same thing I'm doing when I'm looking back on moments in my life or looking forward even now. And I still catch myself doing this constantly. And like that, doing that is pointless. And it is like robbing myself of the opportunity to experience. But at the same time, regardless, I'm still experiencing. Like it's that thing, like you can't be more or less present because you are the present. It's that sort of thing I keep coming back to. So it's almost like I can't make any judgment of how I'm doing or where I'm going at all. And it's uncomfortable to realize that I don't have to, but I don't have to. I don't have to. And there is no false security in that. So it feels very vulnerable. I think just life just feels vulnerable, but that's also freedom. Like nobody ever said it would feel good necessarily. It's just a more full experience of what you are rather than sheltering yourself just to like this little corner that you feel like is safe, but at the same time you're always going to be curious about what more is out there. And finding out is one of the coolest parts of life because you can do shit that you never thought you could do. And of course, because why did you think you couldn't? Like you are intelligence manifest. You are the intelligence of the entire universe in a drop. Like and we try and control that and think we know what that means and underestimate ourselves far too often. And it's crazy, but we don't have to do that. We really don't. But nobody else is saying that shit. Nobody's telling us that. And why not?
Not much profit in it. Straight up, gotta tell you, that's really what it is that, you know, there's no profit in not offering a silver bullet or saying like, you know, there are things you need to learn, come to me. Like there's no profit in telling people that they're good enough on their own, that they have everything that they need, that they can do this, that they've got this. Like there's no profit in it whatsoever. That is exactly why the fact that we still exist after 2 years is frankly fucking mind-blowing to me. And it's just because every step of the way, this is what we're saying. You don't need us. And people who listen to the podcast, people who support us on Patreon, they know that. What they know is that they don't need us. What they know is they could be spending their entire time, like their time doing something else, normally with somebody who's tearing them down or competing with them. So if you're going to spend time by yourself anyway, you may as well fucking celebrate that shit with us. Right. And so they're supporting us on Patreon or they're listening to the podcast because it keeps it going. It keeps it in existence. And the more people who do just for that, the deeper those roots go, because that's what we're here for. You know, we don't want to be here because we got to get somewhere. We don't want to be here because we have some fucking purpose. God, that sounds dreadful. What's wrong with just being here? And if you're like, well, there's got to be, that's just because you're not looking at where you are. You've missed the garden. This is the garden. This is where you are. This is where your life is and always has been. And this is the only place that you can cultivate that relationship with yourself, which is why we're so keen to escape the now. Because in looking towards the future and looking towards the past, we don't have to look at what we are. And that's why relaxation scares us. It's because when we relax, we come to terms with what we are. We feel vulnerable, as Jackie said. We become that exposed nerve. And that's what we're running from all the time. All of our shit, frankly, all of the stuff that we didn't want to face, all of the stuff we're afraid to look at, all of the stuff we don't want to recognize, all the stuff that we do habitually and know that we do habitually, but justify away. All of that is in the moment now. All of that is in your awareness now. But how much time do we spend trying to speed through it, trying to get somewhere? And then we wonder why. It's because the alternative is change. The alternative is actually to sit in self-awareness and in a moment of sensitivity, allow yourself to continue on. That is it. And it's just something that we're not used to doing. It's something that we're not used to doing. And so we assume there's nothing to do. It'd be like every day you're speed to work, you speed to work, you speed to work, and you go by this restaurant. Let's just say it's a Chinese food restaurant. And every day you speed by, you go past it and you never see it. And then one day you're like, fuck, I'd really like some Chinese. And somebody's like, there's a restaurant right over there. And you're like, what? This shit happens all the time. This shit happens all the time. How easy is it to miss the potential of this moment? How easy is it to get lost in the fiction, the narrative, the timeline, and forget that here and now has a feeling all its own before you interpret it? Here and now has a power all its own because it's what is.
Well fucking said. I've noticed that specifically with food recently, that I've always, oh, I eat because I'm hungry. It's like, yeah, there's an experience of taste going on here. And if I fucking shovel that shit into my mouth and try and get to the point of not being hungry right away, I'm not gonna fucking taste that shit. Like, I'm just realizing how little, like, you taste it in passing, but it's like 40% taste, and it'll hit me sometimes halfway through a meal, like, fuck, I barely tasted this. I'm gonna slow down right now. And then it's like each bite there can be a less, like, you don't have to put so much on the fucking fork. You can like tone that shit down, and it's still the same amount of taste. It's not like there's more taste because there's more food that you're fucking shoveling into your gullet. And it's so funny, like, that, how much that specifically with what you're talking about, that can be applied to so many different things that we go through. And when we are doing that, we're missing experience. So we don't even realize what we're missing. We don't realize, oh, there's a flavor, be it to food, be it to reality. Like, there's shit going on right now that I keep passing over because I'm so focused on what the next thing is, on building myself, on becoming something more, that I'm not even tasting reality. I'm not even tasting life. I'm not tasting the fucking food in front of me. And I'm just realizing, like, how often I would do that shit. And I still, but like, I'm just starting to catch myself. And then part of me, of course, there's like, the part that comes up. It's like, oh, you spent so long not tasting food. What the fuck? And it's like, yeah, as long as I'm focusing on that, I'm not tasting it right now. So it's like, what the fuck am I going to do? Continue to not taste it by wishing that I tasted more before? It's like, I've never been able to taste anything more than the thing that I'm doing right now. Might as well just do that and shut the fuck up about what's happened or the food that I've missed previously. It's like, as long as I hold on to that, I'm missing the food. Still, I'm missing life. Still, as long as I'm focusing on whatever had been done or could have been done or should have been done. Like, you got what you got right now. You can either taste that or not.
Yeah, because one day you're going to be dead. And that's really it. Like, and it's not even one day you're going to be, it's kind of like the expression, well, at least you have your health. That can sound really cliche until you're sick. Then all of a sudden you're like, shit, that was nice. That was really nice to be healthy, right? And that's very much it. Like, you may not have a meal as delicious as the one you're having right now. Man, how many meals have you gone through that may have been fucking spectacular and you didn't know because you were trying to get to work, right? Like, and that's really it. Like, it's just, this is what you got. This is your life. This is your life. There's nothing more important because this is what you've got. And if you say, well, there's something more important, what exactly? You know, you can say comfort and all that stuff, but if you're beating yourself up all the time, if you're always in your head, if you can't actually experience the present you're in, it's the Midas touch. Like, that's really what it is. Like, the whole story of King Midas is that everything he touched turned to gold. He could have all the riches he wants, except he can't ever taste anything, because as soon as he touches it, it turns to gold. He can't ever love anybody, because as soon as he touches them, they turn to gold. That's the whole point, is you can have everything you want and never be able to appreciate it. And that happens more often than we think. And we forget it's simply because our priorities are fucked. Marie.
Totally are fucked. And it's interesting when you talk about, like, I love that story, because I think I've talked about it with students too. But everything he touches turning to gold, because then how are you appreciating what's really here and right now? When we're continuing to wish or look to having more, obtaining more, what does that really mean, though? What does that mean? Because really, obtaining more is something we made up here. We sought out. We said, "Hey, having a bunch of things, that means something about you. That gives you more value," and we made that up, though. So the most you can ever have is always in this moment. And a lot of times we don't do it. Like when Jackie, you said, like, why aren't more people talking about this? And obviously we know. Like, questioning is so uncomfortable, and it's so much easier to attach to the conditioning beliefs we've been brought up with. Like, I'm just going to attach to this, identify with this until I die, because it's much more comfortable than questioning anything else. And when you start to question people that are really like that, and that's when they start really grabbing at random shit, like, hey, 1 billion people believe this, though. And it's like, okay. Because you just can sense the fear, the uncomfort. And it's not like we don't all experience that fear, that discomfort, but we don't turn away from it. We don't attach to other things to give us that comfort. Not to say, like, oh, look how great we are. No, that's not the point. That's the opposite of the point. It's just like, the more we look at labels or having things as meaning something about you, and all we're experiencing is what we're experiencing, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about who you are. The more freedom that comes with that. I know I've said that phrase so many times, but I like saying it because it's helpful. It's helpful. Yep. I don't know what you said, but I'm assuming it was something good, because it's right. No, there it is, the good and bad. No, yeah, it's interesting enough when you brought up Amanda too. Well, we've all been talking about it, intuition versus imagination, but like, I like what you said about imagination being like part of time versus, intuition just coming from here in the present. But I think of what I was talking about earlier too. And like, in my present moment, a lot of times I am inviting imagination in, if this makes sense, right? Like my present moment, like my present moment's mine. This this moment, like my question, or I guess where I was like thinking of, is a lot of times it felt like imagination is part of the moment, because who's to say, I think we said this earlier, who's to say what is it has a flag and everything. I'm claiming this moment as mine. And here. I love this is why I join roundtables, by the way, is the chats, y'all. But like the moment offers so much depth that I wonder, like imagination. I don't know. There was something about what you said about imagination being more about, time or the future, but like I feel like I can invite a lot of imagination right here and right now because it all feels like my imagination. Like this, you know what I mean? So I'd be curious your thoughts on that whenever that happens.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like inviting imagination into this moment, right? So like getting into like a medieval voice and like, I have claimed this moment, let all be known, let it be known, this moment has been claimed, right? And so like we are bringing imagination right into this moment. But usually the way that it's always towards making this into something else. Like I imagined this into something else. I imagined a different character from a different time period, and I'm embodying that character from a different time period. So usually anytime I'm using the imagination, even now, it's to change the now. But like intuition feels like I'm not changing it. I'm just literally like responding in real time to the moment without changing it, but just being sensitive to it. But the imagination feels like I'm always trying. With my imagination, I transform, I create, the moment metamorphs into something else. And it's not that, and it's not black and white. Of course there's a spectrum, there's varying degrees. But if I had to describe it, it'd be like imagination is always trying to change the now into something else. And intuition is just responding. And intuition is being sensitive to just what is.
Yeah, well said. Like this idea with imagination, this assumption that things should be different than they are, whereas intuition is not with that assumption that things should be different, but they have the potential to be different. The more I'm paying attention to it is like the depth with which the ripples happen, but it's not from the point of, oh, this is wrong, this should be different. It's like, no, this is what it is. And as long as I'm holding on to this idea that it should be different, it's going to cut off my influence. It's going to be, oh, I'm going to go into imagination land. And that's why we have all these people running around like, oh, we got to change the world. The world is wrong right now. And we got to change it to what? To the thing that you think is best for the world? To your imagination of what's happening as a means of avoiding what's actually happening right now. And so how quick we can be to avoid what's happening right now, what's actually going on in reality by utilizing our imagination, coming up with an idea like, okay, I know that this is definitely wrong. It's like, based on what? It's like, obviously we can see fucking destruction and all this shit going on, but like to say wrong is, if you include all the potential perspective, sensitivity to everything, it's like there's a lot of things that also aren't necessarily wrong. So just to have this blanket statement of wrong, it's like, what the fuck does that even, like, where, when, what situation, what part of the world are you looking at? Like, it's like such a wild thing to be able to say things are wrong right now, but we do. And that's like a very common narrative. And we got to save the world. We got to save the world. We got to change the world. We got to change the world. And it's like, oh, fuck. I just got a fucking wad of spit go down some pipe that wasn't. So Jesus Christ. But yeah, so when we're willing to let go of that idea that there's something wrong with what's going on, we become sensitive to what's actually happening. And then it's like, okay, I can't have this egotistical high of I know this is wrong and I know the right way, but there are things going on and there's an opportunity to have that influence, but it's not via my imagination, because that's then influenced by everything else. And it's like, yeah, it depends on how you define imagination, of course, like we've been kind of saying, but it's like we can have influence on our imagination, depends on what we're saying. Like, is my imagination, inside my mind, or am I looking at my imagination? And like, how seriously am I taking my imagined ideas of what's happening, quote unquote, outside, inside my mind versus and the thought that there's something wrong, and letting go of that allows that influence to actually be had, because it can't be through the veil of this is wrong, I have to change it, because then there's me changing it, and then the opportunity to judge that situation or how it's being handled comes into play immediately, and there's no way to control it. There's no way to control all the variations of you happening right now, but you can have influence over it, but that isn't nearly as satisfying to my ego, my desire to build myself up, because there's nothing to build on. It's just influence here now. But like, we haven't really explored that experience so much, so we don't even know what we're comparing that illusion of control to, what experience that is, because like, I haven't had a lot of experience with that situation yet. I've been doing it my whole life. So anyway,
as we were saying, though, slowing down, as Amanda was saying about attention and sensitivity, right? And it's in everything that we see the value of this. I think it's in sports, it's in art, it's in music, it's in conversation, right? It's in everything that we see the value of slowing down and paying attention. That's really all it is. And so we can say like, well, we've never really had a chance to learn this. No, we've never really been inclined, because it's so tempting to chase that carrot and run from that stick, because it's so easy to get caught up in the momentum of life, because there's so much going on, frankly, especially in the world we live in now. I mean, this is the nice thing about being in my 40s is I remember the early 80s. I remember before there were cell phones. I remember, when there was a phone on the wall at home, and if you weren't fucking home, you just weren't fucking home. That was pretty much it. You had your work day, and then you had your life, and there was a difference in the pace. And it's true, that's not true for everywhere, because you've always had bustling cities and whatnot. There's always been places where it's busier, but by and large, the world had a very different pace. Now we're constantly connected, we're constantly running, we're constantly in the march towards progress, towards the next process, or towards the next leap in AI, towards the next, and we're caught up in a momentum that is mostly in our head, because we're all still just here. And while we're caught up in this march towards who fucking knows, we are losing touch with the experience of who we are. This is the problem with the self-improvement industry, right? It's not that it's bad necessarily to grow and learn things, but to tell yourself that you will be more once you do is dangerous, because it takes away from the experience of what you are right now, and you can't be more than what you are right now. When you get there, you're still going to be what you are right then. That's the whole point, right? It's just going to be you, who you are right now, marching forward in each and every now. And that is growth. That is change. You don't have to try and improve yourself. You are quite literally a growth machine. Now, Jackie, I know you have to take off here in a minute, so I'm going to pass this over to you so you can do your thing.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how the root of our experience is immaterial. It's very much subjective, and it includes the material to some extent, because we like perceive it, or we have an experience of the world around us as if it was separate. And I think just the dominant mentality of our society is just so materialist. And so we think like accumulating more material, or even like conceptual material, like we prioritize things and like achievements and goals, and just the things that we can list on our resume, the things we can stack on top of ourselves to make us feel like we're valuable. Like we think that's actually going to get us somewhere, but in reality, it doesn't touch our immediate experience of reality. Like the only way that we can improve that relationship is bringing more attention to it, and that becomes harder and harder to do the more that you run from yourself, I think, because people don't want to cut their losses, basically. Like if they've invested in something for however long, like it's hard for them to look at that and be like, okay, maybe I was chasing something that isn't satisfactory, because we feel like we're wasting time. And it's hard for us to admit that we're wasting time because we're all afraid of dying and we want to become something before we die. What the fuck are we trying to become? Like, we can't enjoy our lives as long as we're trying to use it as a means to an end of becoming something else, because that poisons every single moment. Like in every moment, there's an opportunity to see it for what it is and appreciate all aspects of it. But like when you need to see the world a certain way, you're only accepting of certain perspectives, and that's just robbing yourself of the fullness of what this could be, and of the sensitivity and the influence that you can have in the moment, because you're caught up in some narrative that is fueled by fear. It's just so wild. But Andrew, like you were saying, yeah, it's like we don't know how else to be, so it's habitual to fall back into that pattern. And so I don't know, what we're doing here is something different, and it's completely uncertain to just say that everything is uncertain and that's okay. Like to most people it's not okay, but that's just a thought. I mean, you're going to be here regardless, so you might as well just see it for what it is and take it for what it is and just soften. Like that's it. Like you're going to keep going through it. You're going to keep making decisions. You're going to keep judging those decisions. And that can be where it ends. Like you don't have to, like you can just observe your reaction to the present and your reaction to your reactions. It's really fucked. Like you can sit back in life because like we're trying to control something that we really have no real ability to control. It's just we just have to play our role, and our role isn't something that we can conceptualize. It's just what we end up expressing. That's it. And that doesn't feel satisfying or good necessarily. I'm just used to getting myself by. Yeah, I'm just used to getting myself by telling myself I'm doing a good job. And I can't do that anymore. And so it's not that I'm doing a bad job, it's that my relationship towards reality being something that I have to do something with rather than just what I am. That's just something I'm renegotiating within myself. But yeah, I got to take off, but this has been a great conversation. And all day, Amanda, the conversations that we've had, the social episode, it's been a great time. Thanks for shooting the shit with me, you guys. See you later.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And of course, everybody who is looking for more of Jackie, do check out Amanda and Jackie. We'll be hosting episodes in season 6, Dualistic Unity with Jackie and Amanda, as well as Dualistic Unity Real. There's already a couple of those episodes out. There's going to be another one that's recorded next week while we are in the Netherlands. Jackie will be talking to us from North America, firmly anchoring us back here in our home base, so that way we can shoot the shit from over there. But we are really looking forward to sharing more of these conversations. The episode of Social just before this was amazing, Jackie. So thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
bye, guys.
Thanks for being here, Jackie. Love you. Talk to you soon. But I had a thought on the last thing she was saying in regards to like being different, and how kind of like what we were talking about before with the world, people thinking the world should be different. Oh, the world's got to change. There's something wrong with the world and I got to fix it. And yet at the same time, we're trying to fit in. It's It's like, what are you trying to fit into? The world that you think should be different? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. That's actually the opposite of what you're talking about, saying that everything should be different. Oh, the world's broken, got to save the world. And yet at the same time, I'm trying to do what everyone else is doing. And so when you realize that there's not a right way for it to be different, it's like you can't come up with your imagination with a right way for the world to be. It's just be willing to be different and start finding out. It's like, stop trying to fit in all the fucking time. And as you continue to be willing to be different, there isn't so much concern for being different or acting differently or doing the thing, you know, when people are acting a certain way or embodying a bunch of stress, like not feeling as stressed, like not feeling like you have to play into that as much. And just the willingness to be different opens up the doors to being sensitive to what's going on, because it's not, you know, covered by, oh, I want to fit in, because then that's going to be a very narrow perspective, right? As opposed to, no, I'm good with being different. Then it's like everything opens up, because fitting in is just a very narrow, specific way of acting, as opposed to being different. It's like everything else, every other potential variation. So the willingness to be different, which is just willingness to be yourself, like you could use all of those terms, phrases kind of in tandem, that it's just about the willingness to be different allows you to be more yourself. And then you don't have to fit in so much. And then things start shifting as you do. Like reality is very much a reflection of you. Of course it is. It has to be. It must be. In like as deep as that motherfucker goes in each and every moment, the variations, and we'll put off like, oh, well, it's other people are doing this, everyone else has to change but me. And it's like, have you tried to find out what happens if you're willing to be different, if you're willing to be yourself, and see where that train goes? Because right now you're just trying to fit in and thinking everyone else should change. It's like, what does that mean? And of course, I'm just talking about myself, as always. If it wasn't obvious before saying that. Amanda.
You're supposed to be talking about me, Andrew. This has now become the Amanda show. So no. But all we can ever really talk about is ourselves, because that's the firsthand experience that you have. And so as much as you could try to talk from the perspective of someone else, it's still going to be based on way more assumptions than when you're talking about your experience that you lived. You are that experience. And so I would prefer you talk about what you're an expert on, and that would be you, sir. But when I was thinking about like wanting to change the world, and you know, like right out of high school, wanting to change the world, because although, yeah, like it was a huge ego trip, like I know what we should do, right? There's that part. And there's the and there's also the part of like younger people tend to be more sensitive, or they tend to not be as hardened by life experience, by not getting what you want, by not things going your way when you think you did know the way. It's that you're still sensitive enough as a teenager to be like, something's off. Like as much as you, but then your ego's like, but now that we know something's off, I know how we can get it back on, right? So that's where we trip up. It's right at that moment where you're sensitive enough to feel like something is off. And then it's how you respond to that sensitivity where we all fucking stumble. Oh my God. And thinking about like running versus gliding, like, you know, just how I always thought that like the way that I could define being successful, even in a system that I knew something was off, was I will change it from the inside. And you really can't do that, because to change it from the inside means that you're participating on the inside, means that you are going through the processes that are what you're trying to change. So it's hard to change something as you're doing it. The thing I think that is being attempted in some way through these conversations is just acknowledging the feeling, acknowledging the sensitivity that something's off. And when enough of us can have that acknowledgement, it's in that moment that you could do more than everybody voting on one day. If everybody collectively just decided that we're not working today, I think we would have the attention of the people that are running the show. You know, I think we would be more effective if we all decided, you know what, our whole town of a few million, we're just not going to go to work today. What the fuck are you going to do? You don't have enough prison cells for all of us. You know, that what I think would be more effective than us all voting and changing and just picking a good leader, changing it from the inside by voting and being a good contributing member of society. Right. So like, that's what I thought you should do, is just pick a better leader. And now I'm like, but really, we vote with every purchase we make. So if we could be more mindful with the everyday hundreds of votes that you make every single week, with every purchase that you make, does more to create the world that we live in than who you pick to be the state legislator. Your money is a bigger vote than the ballot ticket, you know? And that's just my opinion, because I used to work those voting booths. And you better believe 18-year-old Chipper Amanda was like, you know, do your part. Let's vote. We've got to pick. I was very much, we changing it from the inside kind of girl. And now I'm like, man, like, not that I appreciate that time, but I also see that there are more choices. We see people dying on hills every single day. And I used to think that the only choice I had was which hill I picked. But there's so much more than that. I don't have to pick a hill to die on. I can just keep walking.
Well said. Because that realization, like especially with the voting, how quick we can be to like, oh, my vote matters, but it immediately discounts every other fucking thing I do in my life. Like you said, like every purchase that we make, but it's not just that. It's like every action that we take, like everything is that vote. And if I'm thinking that, oh, my vote matters, my vote means so much, my vote's doing this thing to shift things, it like allows me to not consider everything else that I'm doing in my life. Because, I voted. And we even have fucking stickers. I voted. I did my duty. And it's like, what the fuck else are you doing the rest of the year? It's like, that was one smidge of an experience that you went through. What about the other 364 days a year? Like, those are all quote unquote votes for whatever mentality is happening. But that comes with a lot of responsibility in a sense, but also it doesn't have to be weight unless you think there's some degree of control in it. Like there's a way to curate this into what I want via my decisions and all these things. It's still like, there's not a correct direction, but it's the willingness to realize, everything I do matters, but not in a sense of it's a right or a wrong thing. It's just, it's always having impact. You're always having impact all of the time. And if you don't think that you are, there's going to be the ability to pass off sensitivity, to not be sensitive to certain things. It's like, this doesn't have the same influence. Like this has less influence than another situation. It's like, no, actually every situation has the potential for every degree of influence. You think you're just talking to this one random person that you pass by. You don't know the impacts that that's going to have throughout time. And so, of course, everything is like a level playing field in the sense of influence, but then the variation comes with how much you're actually paying attention to it. Like the lack of sensitivity is having just as much influence as the sensitivity, just in a different way. Like you can't escape the influence that you're having. You can just avoid the recognition that it's being had, that there is influence being had, like, closing your eyes or putting your head under the covers when someone's trying to tell you something. It's like, I'm just going to pretend you're not there. Like, that's not moving me. I am still right here. Believe it or not. Still here.
Oh my God. No, it made me think of the analogy I like to compare this to in terms of like our votes, in terms of how we spend our time and attention and money is you have a fitness goal and you're valuing the time, the 1 hour a day in the gym more than the other 23 hours that you're existing. And you have more, the other 23 hours that you're not in the gym have more of an impact than the 1 hour. Because in those 23 hours, you're sleeping, you're drinking water, you're eating, you're stretching, you are resting, you are working. In those 23 hours, you are living the life that your body is in. And but you want to say that the time in the gym is the most important time. That's the time that I'm taking care of my body. It is, but it's the smallest contribution to the state that your body is in. It's the way that you spend most of your time. The time at the ballot box is the smallest way that you could contribute to the world that you're living in the same way that the gym is the smallest way that you contribute to the body that you end up living in as well. But everybody wants to think that the ballot box and the time at the gym are the most important times that they're contributing. But it's really not. It's everything else. And not because the other things like the gym time and the ballot time doesn't matter. It's just that there's such a smaller percentage that's being contributed. 23 hours contributes way more to the body that you see in front of you than the 1 hour in the gym. Because I could be in the gym and I could be working out and we could be sweating it up. But if I leave the gym and I eat 3 extra large pizzas and I stay up all night and I don't sleep and I drink nothing but energy drinks, it doesn't matter what I'm doing in the gym for that hour. I could burn 5,000 calories in that 1 hour. It won't matter if I'm doing so much more damage in the times where I'm not actively, successfully contributing something valuable to the body or to the world that I'm in. People, you want to complain? I complain so much about the world that I built, forgetting that I laid those bricks down with every choice that I made. And it's not to look back and to criticize yourself. It's to say that is how, I was so focused on avoiding starving that I never tasted any food. I was so scared about starving that I never tasted any food. But we've got to go and I got to wrap this up. And it has been fantastic. And thank you so much for letting me go on another rant.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys being here. This has been a fucking blast going back and forth. And yeah, Marie, Amanda, right? It's been fun. We have tier 2 Patreon in about 14 minutes. So if you're watching, hope to see you there. If not, we'll talk to you probably tomorrow, where we have a Wednesday. So free live Zoom and then Patreon. We have an episode. We have live stream, all sorts of fun stuff.
For sure. Join us before we take off to the Netherlands. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.